but it looks like we're reaching somewhere near where we intended to be. So, from Quebec, fantastic. There we go. I knew we had some Canadians on with us. If you're here and want to chime in with where you are, that would be super helpful for Chris and I. We're obviously Chris and I are hosting from Ohio, respectively separate corners of Ohio. I'm up in the northeast corner in Cleveland area, and Chris is actually still in his office just across the river in Kentucky. So we're here on the East Coast. Hello, Stephen from Toronto. I know we have our contingent of team members and representatives that are on in Dallas, Texas, and St. George, Utah, and Salt Lake City, Utah, and I think even a few from California. So, again, pleasure to be here. Thank you for joining. As I mentioned, my name is James Louie. I'm the president of franchising. I am joined tonight by Chris Mybers, one of our partners and our current CFO. Chris Mybers and I have been working together for the last 11 years now, which is pretty crazy to say out loud. He hasn't gotten sick of me yet. Maybe after I force him to host more evening phone calls, he'll finally get tired of me. But the two of us have been in the franchise industry together for the last decade plus. We're lucky enough to have joined on to the BIM Blasters team, both as partners and as well as executive team members almost 2 years ago, and have been leading the franchise side of this business ever since. So everyone, our intention for tonight is obviously to run you through the BIM Blasters franchise overview, share everything we can about this business, where we started, where we are today, where we're going, and candidly, why joining BIM Blasters is the right move for anyone thinking about getting into the bin cleaning or surface cleaning industry. So Chris, any notes before I kick us off in the presentation?
No, let's jump in. You've teed it up beautifully, and thanks everybody for joining all over, within the U.S. and beyond. So this is what we do every day, talk about cleaning dirty garbage cans. As our other partner, Caden, likes to say, he thinks about bin cleaning every day, every night. So this is what we do. So we're excited to talk about it and share some of what we've been up to today and tomorrow and well beyond.
We think about bin cleaning every day. Soon will all of you. So just a reminder, we clean stinky bins. We're BIM Blasters. We clean garbage cans, and we do it better than anybody. So obviously, you guys know who we are. You've seen what we do. A lot of you have been through this version of this presentation before, but just a quick reminder, obviously, we blast stinky garbage cans with 200-degree water right at your curb. We'll get a lot more into the business model, but that's the high level. We provide a service for an industry that is booming. Obviously, one that, since Casey and Steve first started this business back in 2019 has grown steadily. Not only this industry, though, but the home service industry as a whole has surged and continues to surge, not only because of interest and need, but also because of demand. Obviously, as we see the AI world continuing to move and change, home services business and businesses that require a human to come to your house to perform a service continue to be more and more attractive for investors as well as potential entrepreneurs and those who may have pursued a standard career in the past. And obviously, we've seen impressive annual growth in the home service industry and obviously rising consumer investment and interest. I always say when we talk about how I know the industry is growing, just a couple of years ago, when Chris and I first started here, and we were talking to our founder, Casey, and the rest of the team about how we advertise this business. It was always hey, we go out to market, we go on to meta ads, and we have to coach people on what bin cleaning is. Obviously, we did a very good job at that as we built this business. But we found over the last 9, 6, and specifically 3 months is that this business is becoming more and more known, more and more searched for, which is a great indicator as we look at our markets across the country growing. And seeing that, hey, people know about us now. They understand the industry. And obviously, as they understand the industry, it's because they're starting to understand the problem. Everyone has stinky bins. Everyone needs them sanitized and cleaned. Our mission is to make sure that those dirty trash bins can be cleaned with a proper solution. And our proper solution is a subscription-based model with a great set of equipment that allows for everyone to have this service without having to go in their backyard, dive inside their can, get out the bottle of bleach, try to clean everything themselves. So let's talk quickly about our story in particular and walk you from where we started this business to obviously where we are today and everything we've achieved along the way. In 2019, bin cleaning was born. You can see the rig there. one of the original rigs. Steve and Casey started there in 2019. Again, this was just a dream in Casey Evertson's head. He had just left his sales job and knew that this industry needed someone to really come in, take it over, and start to grow it in the right direction. He was able to do so out of his own home in Spanish Fork, Utah, and grow a business that became so attractive that by 2021, he kicked off the franchise program. The franchise company took life. He brought on his first handful of franchise partners in the territory that he had built with a few thousand subscribers at the time, and started to grow. From 2021 to 2024, Casey and the team had brought on 8 new partners, grown into 3 states inclusive of Utah, which is where we were headquartered, and really saw the system be ready for a point of optimization, which is the same time that Chris and I came on and really came in and in a lot of ways shaped the company into the operational system that it is today. It was our big jump from a emerging franchise into a scalable and very optimized system. And then in 2025, franchising took off. We grew last year 25 new franchise licenses across a number of different states, and have seen this business really grow and turn us into by far the largest bin cleaning, surface cleaning combo brand in the world. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that this brand resonates not only with all of you, but everyone across the country who has reached out to speak to us, and everyone who's reached out to actually have their cans cleaned. And the blood, sweat, and tears that went into that was 6,000 videos, accumulating 80 million views, 300,000 followers, and 6 million likes across all of our platforms. I would say many of you came to this business because you saw us online. You saw us online because we spent a lot of time cultivating the number of videos and pieces of content, helping Meta and other platforms understand who we are and why to promote us. And that's helped us grow organically substantially. And as you think about, where we are today and how we continue to grow for a business that a number of years ago started off in Casey's driveway in Spanish Fork, Utah, that is now operating in 14 states, has 35 active franchise licenses, 27 franchise partners, and is the largest bin cleaning franchise in the world. That's very impressive. We always like to kind of look ourselves in the mirror and give a small pat on the back, but also it's a great reminder that is massive room for growth, not only here in the U.S. in states that we haven't been to, expanded in markets that we're already in, but obviously in other countries like Canada, New Zealand, Australia, UK. We get requests in those markets constantly, and want to make sure that we continue to push the envelope and grow this business, and not just be the biggest bin cleaning franchise in the U.S., but across the world. A quick highlight on where we added new partners last year. A number of our new locations, obviously, as we got into states like Iowa, Ohio, Texas, Nebraska, Idaho, North Carolina, Florida, Mississippi, Colorado, and Massachusetts. We saw multi-unit partners grow. People like Brian and Mandy take over the entire Omaha market with 3 units, 3 pieces of equipment, and a mini truck. We've seen our Phoenix, Arizona partners on the northwest side of town expand to 3 units very quickly and continue to want to grow in that market, as well as bring others in that market to grow with them. And even just this year, which you've not seen on this list yet, we've added new partners in Idaho Falls, Bentonville, Fayetteville, Springdale, Fort Smith, Arkansas, and are closing deals just this week in markets like Gulf Shores, Alabama, markets like Ogden, Utah, and a few others across the country. So a lot of very exciting growth across some very pivotal states, and we're obviously excited to see that continue to happen. Now, obviously, as a franchise team, you're getting to meet Chris Mybers and I today, the two of us with the real, I would say, Chris and I come from franchising. We've been doing this together for the last decade plus. We've been, partnered side by side as operators and franchise support team members in all subscription-based businesses, a lot of times brick and mortar businesses, beauty, health, wellness, and fitness, but built our careers, scaling franchise systems, building programs that truly work and can take franchise partners and franchisors to the next level. And we're lucky enough to partner with the founding team that you see below us here, Caden Terry, Casey Evertson, and Steve Terry. And these 3 gentlemen that are right below Chris and I here, a massive part of this team. Obviously, Casey put the legwork in to build this brand, build the content that comes around the brand, scale our first units, coach our first franchises, and is flanked by his 2 original partners, Caden and Steve, who in a lot of ways have built the equipment program that we lean so heavily on, as well as the support program. So from executive team level, we've been able to establish the executive team membership that's here to help you win. But obviously, there's much more than just the 5 of us that come to this business. As a franchisor, obviously, we're set up to make sure that you are successful. A big part of the reason you get into franchising is because you're in business for yourself, but certainly not by yourself. When you join this system, you get a dedicated franchise coach, a BIN coach, a comprehensive training program, which I'll get into here in a minute, and proven business development, operations, sales, and marketing playbooks. All things that come with a great franchise system. Obviously, I like to say, joke with Chris all the time, we've made all the mistakes in this industry. And so our BIN coach team makes sure that you don't make the same. And as you get into this, obviously, why you join a franchise, why you do this with a proven brand is because we don't want to leave you guessing. You want to be there and know what's coming the next day. Be able to understand what works and what doesn't. Learn from the areas that we failed. Help us improve upon the areas that we're already being very successful. And the team here helps to make that happen. Chris and I get questions all the time. Why BIN Blasters? Why a franchise? Why pay a royalty? Why pay a franchise fee? And the support that sticks at a franchise, especially here at BIN Blasters, is really that reason why. And, Chris and I have become real believers in and have, cultivated belief in our executive, our partners who started this business in the franchise model, simply because of the fact that when you get into a franchise system, especially one that has been built for scalable growth, you get into a model that is proven and one that has the ability to really help move you along and produce success. And at the same time, I always like to circle back to that previous slide that showed all of the partners in the system and talk about that, hey, in business for yourself, but not by yourself mentality. Obviously, as we think about, hey, you're wherever you end up owning your location. Mike Rollins just joined in from Delaware. Mike owns his location in Delaware. He's BIN Blasters Delaware. Guess what? Mike has 35 right now other partners across the country who are doing the same thing he is, with the same brand, with the same consumer, the same strategies, and we're all learning together. So not only do you get the power of the system, obviously you get the power of the support team to make sure that we help with everything. Now that's getting you off the ground, getting you through your initial support and training programs. That's weekly success calls. That's your scorecards. That's your routing, staffing, sales, operations, real-time support. That is happening from a corporate level, but also, of course, from your partners across the country. So let's talk about that training really quick, what that looks like. Obviously, when you join the system, our typical franchise opening takes about 60 days, 2 months if we do it fast and we do it right. It starts on a virtual training hub. We have a learning management system that can take you through, in as fast as 4 weeks, typically closer to 6 weeks, a comprehensive training program that gets everything from your business set up to you onboarded on all of your softwares, your marketing program established, your unit economics and financing in place, and everything else you need to set that business up for success. That then leads into a university-style training where you come in and you spend time with us, typically in St. George at our production facility where we'll be next month. We're hosting 6 groups next month in St. George, all of which are new to the system and are preparing for their spring launch. And that's where the in-the-field side of the training takes place. So you spend 3 days with us on equipment, cleaning bins, surface cleaning, learning to sell, establishing your launch plan, and really executing that business playbook. So there's a very comprehensive training set. We take you from day one, signed as a franchise partner, franchise fees paid, all the way to open, and obviously there throughout. Where if you are a franchise partner to this system, we're here to support you in everything that we do. All right, I'm going to get into the equipment now. We're going to talk about what it is that makes this business actually move and tick. So again, a lot of you have already seen and probably gotten quotes for and understood the equipment that you're getting into. And I'll give you a quick little backstory on this business, how it originally started and where it is today. You saw the original pieces of equipment out of Casey's garage, the big trucks that we were in. When this business first got started and we first were opening franchise locations and territories, much of it came from a I'm just going to check in really quick before I keep going here. I got a notification live stream has ended for some. I'm just making sure everyone can still hear me. Can someone give me a thumbs up in the chat, please? Caden and Steve, seems like it's still working for you guys, so I'm going to keep going ahead. Chris Ebden, get your internet figured out, my friend. I'm going to leave you behind. Anyways, the equipment setup is something. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Ed. Oh, Drew, appreciate that. Sounds like it was down for a minute, but we're back and going. Glad to hear it, guys. Thank you for chiming in on that front. Thank you, Trey. So let's talk about the equipment again. We started with these big trucks, full size, massive side-by-side hydraulic lifters, 500 gallons of water, $200,000 to get into. Big, expensive pieces of equipment that unfortunately we didn't make, we didn't warranty, broke down all the time, and in a lot of cases were just too large for what this business needed. So what did our partner Steve do? Steve had the wonderful idea to simplify the offer, bring all of this in-house, and build what is our current offering, our Flex trailer. A 14-foot, almost like a stop for Mike again. I'm just going to keep going, guys, and if it, any time here it stops, hopefully it catches you back up. I apologize if there's a connection issue, but I hope we can get ourselves back in here as we need to. But Steve decided, bring all this in-house, build the equipment, and that was a massive change and improvement to this business. Obviously, as a franchisor, our main prerogative is making that our business partners, our franchise partners, have the ability to be successful, learn the business, execute the business. But when you also own and operate and quality control the production side of the equipment process like we do and like Steve's team does out of St. George, it's a massive game changer. We build everything. Steve and his team build everything in our warehouse on site in St. George, which means a couple of things. We know the quality of the equipment we're putting out. We quality control it. We know how to make sure that we fix it. We improve it when you have issues. We're there. We warranty it. We set you up with somebody who helps you on a localized basis. That's a hot water pressure company who can help you with this equipment. We don't just send you out into the world and say, good luck with your equipment. When it breaks down, call somebody else. Call the warranty company. That in-house building is a massive part of what's helped us be successful and continue to improve. I swear every 3 months, Steve and the team comes out with a much improved model, even from the one you're seeing here today. Better lifter, better equipment, better setup, new wraps, great colors, better powder coat. Equipment is the lifeblood of this business. If your equipment's down, so is your business. So we brought it in-house and we make sure that we fabricate it and we produce it. That is a monster support upgrade and something that anybody who's a part of the Bin Blaster system takes massive advantage of. So a lot of credit to Steve and the team for the great equipment they build, but also for our ability to be franchisor and equipment producer. And talk to any of our franchisees, obviously, it's a game changer. In some cases, if you're doing this by yourself, your equipment goes down, you could be down for days, weeks. In our system, we're down for hours, days. We're here to help support on real time to make sure everything gets fixed. And the beauty of this model is, guys, this is not a $200,000 piece of equipment. Our base model goes out the door for Bin Blasters franchisees at $50,000. That's cash. $50,000, all cash, plus shipping to you, unless you want to come drive and get it. And there are plenty of options I'll let Chris get into a little bit later in terms of the financing. So you can understand, hey, you don't want to put the entire 50 down, or in a lot of cases, the entire 120 down for the franchise system. There's great ways to finance that equipment and make sure that it moves us in a good direction. Actually, Chris, I'm going to pause for a second. I'm going to let you jump in here and talk about a couple of things. I want you to talk about not only the financing for the equipment and how we finance the business, but also just give a little bit of a hint for the team here in regards to how you've seen the business change from when we had these early franchisees who were paying $4,000 or $5,000 a month to finance their equipment to where now we have franchisees that are on a much better equipment platform and how that impacts their ROI.
Yeah. Well, and that was important to me. I mean, most of my career has been that of a CFO or something akin to that over the last couple of decades. So I want to know certainly the unit economics on a rolling basis, but what's it cost me to get in and how can I figure out a comfortable zone to kind of achieve a good return on investment? We know any business, any franchise, brick and mortar, home service, somebody within this industry that may do it with another brand flag. It's going to take them time to get to some level of top line growth to where they're breaking even or starting to see a return. that the length of that runway is extended, not in a favorable way, if you enhance the investment cost. So when we look at a home service franchise, when people are spending, north of 100 or maybe 150 on the equipment, and then everything that wraps around that, the marketing, working capital, maybe they're staffing the model if they're not working as an owner operator, but either way, time and money are equal, right? You're in well north of 200K. So what we wanted to do over the last year, and I think we've been very effective with it, is get that barrier of entry lowered. Of course, we respect and we know it's a meaningful investment. I don't care if it's $1 or $100,000. It's your money. It's meaningful. You'll decide, if and when the investment is the right thing to do. But on a relative basis, if we can get that investment level lower, it enhances our likelihood and the speed in which we can achieve break even and then profit beyond that. So that was always important to us. If we can get that, really the tangible asset side manageable. So our equipment packages are going to run anywhere from 50 to 60K. Of course, we live in a world where cash is still king. So we can pay that. We can pay that in two parts, deposit and final payment. We have several franchisees that take advantage of financing. That could be rolled up into an SBA, a larger loan package, or just financing the equipment itself. That allows you to kind of hold on to some chips in your pocket, hold on to some cash, use somebody else's money. Of course, we live in a world where interest rates, unfortunately, are not 2.99 like they may have been back in the day. But when we're talking about 50, 55, 60,000 on a month-over-month basis, a lot of our franchisees and owners and operators, they find it manageable. They'd rather hold on to their cash, use that for working capital, use that for marketing, and then allow somebody else's money to pay for the equipment. And that gives them, I think, a more reasonable pathway to get to break even maybe 3, 4, 5 months in. That's kind of our goal from an operational standpoint. So
I appreciate that, Chris. That's been so important on the scalability of the business model. That low entry cost. I know you and I, when we first started working together, we used to work with franchise businesses that were 500,000-600,000, some or even over 2 million at one point to get into. And regardless of what that investment point was, it was always very difficult to see that pathway at the end and quickly get to a point of profitability. And I think for everybody who's looking at this business and this industry, that pathway to profitability is an incredibly important one. And, bringing that cost of the equipment down has helped us and all of our new franchise partners who are working on this more effective equipment model get into business, get profitable fast, and continue to scale from there. And we talk a lot about our multi-unit partners who are doing that in markets across the U.S. So I appreciate you chime in on that, Chris, and we'll circle back to it when we hit the initial investment. I wanted just really quick to get into some training program areas that everybody should understand and learn about for our, as a Bin Blaster franchisee. Obviously, from a perspective of what we deliver, what our team delivers, this is a quick overview of the first 6 weeks, the launch phase, and then obviously everything there and beyond. So we set you up with a business plan, marketing strategy, financing strategy. Again, consider us your in-house finance, accounting, marketing operations, and sales teams. We're here to help you through everything, get you set up on the softwares, things like I Run My Ads, Irma, our software jobber that does all of our routing and payments, as well as all of our other platforms that do things like Meta Ads, Google Ads, offsite SEO, Google My Business, everything else you need to be successful on all fronts. And you have a dedicated coach, a bin coach, who takes you through that program. I hope you guys could hear Casey there as he was jumping on the talking through the phone. But obviously a huge part of that launch plan is the marketing strategy. We've been able to be very successful as a business. The numbers speak for themselves. You saw them earlier. 80 million follows, 6 million, 6 million followers, 80 million likes, all views on all of our videos. We've truly perfected what it takes to get out in front of your consumer. The branding, the content, everything online, in person. And obviously that, the ability to now take all of that, bottle it up, and express it into your community is an art that we make sure that we're really reinforcing for you. Our marketing team is here to set up your strategy, make sure you launch with a splash, build local partnerships, and leverage what is our 90-day pre-open plan, but also, of course, is inclusive of an entire launch playbook from the pre-opening to your digital to the partnerships and your grassroots. I mean, just today we had all 30 franchise partners on an hour-long call just brainstorming grassroots marketing programs. The power that came from that call was immense. We had everybody leave there with new ideas, new strategies. People who'd been open for 5 years and people who haven't been open for 5 days came together to grow their grassroots programs. And that strength and that system is something that we really reinforce and want to make sure that we get out there and continue to push. Obviously, as a franchisor, we build your landing page. We manage the website. We make sure that you get the best of the best technology and digital presence, everything that you need to be successful, everything you need to make sure that your consumer intake process is really effective and very straightforward. We want speed to conversion. I want to reduce friction to conversion. Everything I can do to get somebody on your site through your request and onto your schedule as fast as humanly possible, paid for on a recurring basis, and we're set. All that happens on the technology side of the website. Very, very seldomly does someone call in and buy services these days. I think our St. George franchisees still get a check in the mail every once in a while from people they've had as consumers for years. But most of our buyers, they buy online. And our ability to build your landing page and set you up for success and manage that on your behalf is a game changer. And obviously, as you leverage the SEO of the BIM Blasters business across the country and in your market, that's even more and more effective and a bigger part of the reason to join BIM Blasters versus try to do it by yourself. We obviously also deliver a curated social calendar and strategy. Everyone gets access to I Run My Ads. There's a social planner within it. Your first 8 weeks of content is on us. We build it for you. We make sure it goes out. We make sure it curates and builds in your market so that people know what you're doing. You have a great reputation, and you can build on top of it yourselves in your market. That's a huge part. Obviously, content marketing. Again, I hope you guys can hear all that. We've had a lot of fun over the years building videos, trying, to try different strategies, build silly content. At the end of the day, this is a great business model, but it's a pretty silly concept. We clean stinky garbage cans. We lean into that. We build great, fun, engaging content that, just 3 weeks ago, we had a partner who did a video for our Northwest Phoenix franchise location. They're operating up in Surprise primarily, a little bit in Vistancia and in Goodyear. And the video got 2.4 million views on Instagram. 2.4 million views on an organic piece of content, all coming from our content strategy that we deployed to the franchisee. They were able to then curate, post, and just have huge success from. So the content marketing strategy is a big part of what makes us successful and what comes to you. And obviously that entire process from training to open, again, I mentioned it can be done in 60 days. More often than not, we see it happen in 2.5 or 3 months from the time you sign a franchise agreement to the time you open. And obviously that period takes some sweat. It takes some effort. It takes a lot of training on our side, but honestly as well, it takes an investment. So I want to make sure we take a look here and really unpack what the initial investment for a new BIM Blasters franchise looks like. And I'm going to turn it over to Chris to walk through this. Chris is the architect behind this. Also the one who talks a lot about our use of funds. But I think it's important to know that as you look at this and you think franchise, $129,000 to $158,900 potential cost. There's a lot of caveats to that. The bottom line is whatever business you open, that business you're opening is going to need everything you see line itemed here, whether you're a franchise or not. So Chris, I'd love you to walk through this, explain to everybody, if you wouldn't mind, what they're seeing here, the item 7 from our franchise disclosure document, and just give them a quick overview of kind of what this looks like, what we're typically seeing, and any tidbits people should know in areas they can potentially finance some other options. And then obviously when that money kind of comes out of their pocket.
Yeah, there's a lot here on this table. So if you wound me up, and James knows me all too well, I could probably fill up the whole hour breaking down all this. I will not do that on this call, but maybe subsequent calls we dig into it deeper. What I'll point out, I'm going to piggyback on something James kind of left me with. That bottom line, let's go right to the bottom line, the 129 to 158. Number one, that's not a check written to us, right? So if you look over on one of the ledger columns on the right-hand side, that's who it's paid to. The only thing paid to the franchisor in the U.S. disclosure of the franchising offer is the franchise fee and the training fee. We broke down that training. It's really 3 parts. It's access to the entire kingdom, all of our IP, all of our SOPs, best practices. Those are evergreen and ever growing. The other 2-part training is you're going to come out to us. and we're going to come to you basically at time of launch, right? So that's encapsulated in that $5,000 training fee. Just above that, the franchise fee, that gets you exclusive territory rights within our system. And obviously it grants you access to, all the benefits of our brand awareness, which is growing, and everything we have to offer, all of our vendors, all of our discounted pricing, all the things that our franchisees have a leg up on comes with that $30,000. That's a 10-year franchise term with a 10-year renewal period after that. So those are the things that are paid to us. I talked about the trailer and equipment that's paid to our brother or sister company, however you want to look at it. Everything else on this chart, be it small or be it large, and I'll hit on a couple of the larger ones, we would contend that if we weren't talking on a franchise disclosure and we were just talking normal, how do I start a business, you're going to have to spend this anyway. If you're going to want to, I would tell anybody, and I say it tongue in cheek, but also in dead seriousness, if you're going to compete against a bin blaster in your market, you better come ready with that startup marketing, because we're coming ready with that. And I think James already teased, and I think there were maybe 6 slides on this deck talking about marketing. If the equipment is the lifeblood, our marketing and the marketing power and the reach, it's the heart that pumps it out. That is the thing that keeps our entire ecosystem, all of our franchisees upright, thriving, and continuing to grow. So that startup marketing fee, what we found, it's not a fee, it's an investment. First off, it's spanned over the first 3 to 4 months from the time you sign on to the time you fully launch. You're going to spend that anyway. If I'm opening up, Chris's bin cleaning in Cincinnati, Ohio, or if I'm rolling into Bin Blasters, you're going to spend that anyway. So that's just our disclosure to say you're going to want to spend on upfront marketing in any business, but certainly in the home service sector. That bottom line item, which is probably the other outside of the equipment, outside of the initial franchise fee cost, the additional funds, that's what the FTC makes me call it. In normal speak, it's just working capital. I don't touch it. I don't see it. I don't audit it. That's my disclosure to saying, hey, we're starting a business here. It may take a few months, maybe more, to get this thing up to a point where it's breathing on its own. AKA it's past break even. It's not taking money from you, not taking any more investment, but it's starting to flip the script a little bit and pay money back against that investment. Profitability, you may need $20,000 or $25,000 worth of runway to get there. Again, I don't touch it. I don't need to see it. That's just there as working capital. So all in, working capital, marketing, all the things to establish your entity, cover training, purchase the equipment, load up on additional equipment pieces and supplies and tools. All of this, you're going to end up spending that $129,000 to $158,000 anyway. So that's our total investment. That investment is typically outlaid over the span of 90 to 120 days as you launch the business. The franchise fee and training fee paid at consummation, at signing, when you come into the system. Everything else kind of, if you work top to bottom on this chart, it kind of goes chronologically of when you're going to spend it or need it. I'll touch real quick on, how our franchisees are financing. I talked a little bit about the equipment financing, exclusive to the equipment. Let me zoom out and talk about the all-in investment. I've got franchisee partners that are coming cash roll, right? Cash is still king. They want to hold on and leverage their cash. That's fine. We are on the U.S. side, we are on the SBA approved franchise registry. So you can work with local, regional. I've got national banks that are open to set up certain SBA products that may come with advantages and disadvantages. Frankly, it's your capital, your decision. You'll see what's right for you. I've got home equity loans. I've got ROBS programs, rollover for business startups. If you've got retirement, you can roll that into a business startup with some tax sheltering there. We've got experts on that. I've got franchisees that cobble together maybe an equipment finance package, and then the other 40 or 50 that they want to put in, maybe they get an unsecured loan or a line of credit to kind of bridge that gap. The point being, there are a lot of ways that you can cobble together, and it's much easier to cobble those things together and stomach that investment for one territory or multi when we're talking about just over 100,000, maybe 150. juxtapose that against even our version of this a year and a half, 2 years ago, we were upwards of $250,000. And that was just a very steep hill to climb. And then it just took us way too long to get, a return on investment on that. So we're very proud of this. Many of my franchisees, I just had a franchisee this week get approved for 100% financing, meaning they don't have to put 15, 20% down. The whole project was financed through the bank. They got approved for that. So, typically we look for just some of the benchmarks of if you're north of a 680 credit score, certainly if you're in the sevens, you probably have some things to work with. We've got plenty of lending partners we can introduce you to. They know us. They just don't know you yet. But if you have a local bank or lender that you work with, they know you. They don't know us. Introduce us to them. We're probably on the SBA registry that they can look up, or we can provide them with some of our templated business models so they get comfortable with not only your financeability, but really what the project is itself. And that's what the BIM Blasters offer is. So a lot of ways to carve this up.
Hey, Drew, it's a phenomenal question. So, Chris, Drew asked a question here. What brought your old model of 250,000 down to 150,000 in 1 year? So, Drew, I assume you're speaking on, hey, what our old model was, what we used to need to put into the business. All of it is in the equipment. Again, I'll look back and give Steve a big pat on the back and a thumbs up for we used to have to pay significantly more for a different piece of equipment. And now it's at a point where, that $50,000 trailer is what helps us to get to a place where, hey, this is very, very affordable and effective. And the older models had to go much higher. So I think that answered the question, Drew. But it's a good one. And obviously, if you look back a couple of years, this investment table was significantly higher. And unfortunately, as that was significantly higher, that also, took this next part of the equation, as Chris has been talking about, quite a bit longer to achieve. So just something to talk about here on the unit level economic side of the model. I think we've got a lot of, business minded, current business owners on this call today, but also business minded individuals. I'm sure many of you you've done some of the math. You've looked at this thing yourself. You've tried to understand, okay, what can it return? How does it produce? Obviously, in our franchise development pipeline and program, and we talked through that a lot, but I wanted to give Chris a second here to shout out, hey, what drives this business? And candidly, what makes it so special? Because as you think about that, return to investment as well as consistency perspective of why they get into a subscription model and why they get into bin cleaning in particular, there's a lot of upside and some certain things that drive profit. So, Chris, give the group here just a quick, 2 to 3 minutes on what makes the revenue side of this equation so special.
Yeah, those 4 bullet points, they're equal font. They should not be. Reoccurring subscribers, that's the big one. I should probably embolden the font size there because that creates the compound effect over not only a year, but 2 years and 3 years. We hold on to our clients on the residential side and the commercial side. So once we get them, our price point and our service value are there that we don't lose them. So we really lean into that recurring subscriber level. We do offer one-time cleans. I will say I like to keep that off the menu. The real value in what we do is building a relationship, keeping that relationship. It makes the revenue predictable. I don't care if you're in brick and mortar fitness or hair care or beauty or technology SaaS, or in our world, subscription-based cleaning. The reoccurring revenue is a huge advantage that I think a lot of our partners, they value that very much. The commercial accounts. I've got, just today, I had a franchisee line up a cleaning, a reoccurring cleaning with a Chick-fil-A. I always joke, if you know Chick-fil-A, especially on the state side, Sundays are made for Chick-fil-A parking lots. Those could be upwards of $1,000 jobs. So there's a ton of commercial accounts, whether that be REITs, property managers, municipalities, or businesses themselves. You can build those relationships well beyond just the trash cleaning. And that goes to the add-on services. We can do just about everything that a surface cleaner or a pressure washing company can do. They can't clean the bins in the way we do. They can't do it as effective. They can't do it as eco-friendly. They probably don't take that stinky gray water with them. We do all that. So we got a leg up there. That's not a problem. And our marketing gives us a leg up on just the uniqueness and the fun we have in being able to make our brand visible. But once I build that account and that relationship, I can upsell. I used to work in the restaurant world. I love a good upsell. So if I can upsell them to clean a driveway, clean the siding of the house, do whatever, that just boosts my whether that's revenue by client, revenue per job, monthly revenue, any of the revenue KPIs we measure, if we can really focus in on those add-on services, it really takes our performance from good to great for many of our franchisees. So the revenue side is there. And then from a global standpoint, not to get overly CFO and geeky about it, we've got a huge TAM right in front of us, right? We don't have a lot of competition. We've got a lot of pins on the map, but there's still a lot of pins left to fill. And the tide is lifting. More and more, the homeowner is getting more familiar with bin cleaning as a service. So as that TAM is there and that tide lifts, we've got tons of opportunities all over the US, all over Canada, and well beyond. Almost every home has 2, if not 3 garbage cans. So I don't need 20% of market share to be immensely profitable. So there's a huge TAM, and then there's a lot of ways to create revenue.
And I'm glad you bring that up, Chris, because something I wanted to make sure everybody saw, it's something you and I and the guys live in every day. But obviously, as you think about the unit economics of this model, as a franchisor, typically we're offering somewhere between 30,000 and 50,000 households inside of a protected territory, which I'm showing areas here in Chicago. You're seeing 5, potential protected territories here in this market that anybody could walk into. And if you sign a franchise agreement, this would be the area which you're protected and you have the ability to service. And, just talk about the TAM, but also, the ability to break even quickly. Just a quick poke at the economics in just a market like Naperville, something anybody who's familiar with Chicago is probably familiar with. A territory like this, which is 5 zip codes, 64,000 households, and has a median household income of $115,000, which, if you think about that, is an incredibly substantial and a really effective number. And if you look back at the heat map, obviously, it is just incredibly dense with consumers, over 155,000. 15,000 households higher than 2,000 or 200,000 or more in household income. And as we take a look back at that market and you think about, all right, what are my unit economics? What are my key performance indicators? What are the things that, Chris, if this is you in Naperville and you're opening this location, if you think about, all right, what's it going to take me in this swath of dirt to break even on my business? Generally speaking, where would that put you and why?
Yeah, definitely less than 1% of the market capture by household. But if I'm looking at total subscribers, I'm probably targeting a break-even range somewhere between 2.25 and 350 in terms of total subscribers. And there's variables in there. What my expense load is, whether I'm owner operator or staffing the business or have debt against the business. I look at profitability as net of debt, right? So owner discretionary income and free cash flow. That's how I, deem the break even. But also, what's my subscriber mix, quarterly versus monthly, right? What am I doing surface cleaning jobs? And at what percentage of my overall revenue does that comprise? That may swing that, one way or the other from maybe just over 200 to maybe just over 300 in terms of my break even. But if I put that against that 30 to 50,000 households, I'm looking at maybe 0.7 to 1% of market capture to get to a point where the business is breathing on its own. I don't have to invest anymore. Now I'm ready to get it healthy and grow and start to make profit. So that's how we look at it. If we're on the other side of signing with a franchise partner, that's how we're coaching. That's how we're developing our marketing plans, set those goals metrically, drive the marketing plan to kind of reach those goals within 3 or 6 months, post launch.
And it's incredibly important what Chris mentions there. And, if we go back to the keys to profit driving, you look at that map I just showed, you see 64,000 households and you start to think like, my God, that's a big number. If I only need 1% of that, and then how do I achieve it? A huge part of being successful in this business, any business that makes routing part of your equation, it is being effective in the way you are routing and taking down your community. I zoomed in on a market there, a group of households in Naperville that I know pretty well just from our research in the area. And there's probably 500 houses on this, couple of blocks in the area. And being effective in how you market to, how you service, and then expand your territory and get from 250 to 500, 750 to 1,000 to 2,000 to multiple trailers to multiple routes and teams is just as important as getting there at all. You need to get there effectively. If someone comes to me and they say I've got 500 subscribers, but they're all over in a 45-minute pattern, you've got a problem. You've got an efficiency problem that'll eventually become a revenue problem, and that can have the opportunity to sink your business. And a big part of what we coach up on this, at Bin Blasters, and what our Bin Coach team is always doing is making sure that as you build that business, you're building it effectively. Any market you go to, you're going to find the consumer, whether you have 20,000 people you can service to or 100,000 people you can service to, households you can service to. Finding them effectively, converting them into subscription, and then just producing every single day, showing up for the service, doing it right, following up. That's exactly what it takes to be a great partner in this business. And honestly, it's what we're looking for. We're looking for partners that are client-focused, driven, organized, outgoing, communicative, salesy, business savvy, that have the ability to partner up with an experienced franchise and operator team like we have at Bin Blasters, take our brand name out into your market and be successful with it. We have all the tools to go out and build a successful business via Bin Blasters and the garbage can cleaning model. You are the key to making sure we can do that. And obviously, as a franchise partner, it's a huge part of what we coach. It's a massive part of what we're understanding together right now. And as you continue through this process, whether you're talking to Chris Hebden, myself, Chris Meiber, Steve, Isaac, Trey, Caden, whoever you're speaking to about your next steps in this opportunity, those things are what we're trying to help unpack so that you and we can be successful together. So after this meeting here, Chris and I covered a lot. We appreciate all the time everyone spent with us to be able to, review the business, learn more about the franchise opportunity. I'll be sending out the recording. We'll be sending out the presentation, and you'll be scheduling follow-up calls with your, respective team member. Again, Chris Hebden, Trey, Isaac, Caden, Steve, Chris O'Reilly, whoever that may be. And we're hosting this a couple of nights a month. Obviously, as the business continues to grow, follow us on Instagram, follow us on LinkedIn. You'll see all the milestones that we're achieving, the way the business is growing. We've obviously got some time still for questions here. If anybody has them, feel free to put them in the chat. We'll give it a couple of minutes to answer what may be lingering. And if there isn't anything, we'll leave you guys to have a good night. But chime in with any questions. I'll give about 30 seconds. If we don't hear from anybody, we'll sign off and say thank you. Steven, good question. All right, Chris, I'm going to read it out loud so everybody can see it, and I'll make sure it's posted here on the comment section. In general, what is the break-even point on a daily basis in households serviced if the service is laid out on an effective route? So, Chris, let's talk about a few things. What is your daily capacity? Let's start there. For what you can actually take with one of our trailers, what we can typically do based on our 380 gallons of water. And then obviously, if we're achieving that, we're break even plus. But unpack that question for Steven for a minute.
Yeah, total jobs. The total jobs that we would consider kind of par would be about 50 a day. So let's call that 250 a week. I'd say that's a baseline capacity. There are some caveats there, and certainly we would invite exploring that. If I get an HOA account or larger kind of relationship account, I can stack up much more than that. Physically, I could do 70 or 80 a day if I've got that route efficiency. So if I'm in an HOA community and let's say the HOA do subsidize me being there, I could do 50 or 60 stacked up right next to each other. And that may be in a half day time because, as James pointed out on one of those earlier slides, I'm cleaning 2 bins, check in, clean it, deodorize it, tag them, bag them back up at the door, as we call it, tag it and bag it. I'm in and out of there in about 6 minutes. So if they're stacked up efficiently, I can knock out more than 50. But on an average, we say 50 a day is the capacity, right?
And that's on a single route, Chris.
That's on a single route.
That's on a tank of water. That's an efficient use, Steven, of that time. And here's what I'll tell you: our average per clean amount in the Bin Blaster system is $39. So if we're $39 a clean inside Bin Blasters, and you have 50 cleans a day, that math should give you the answer you're looking for on what you can earn on a daily basis. But obviously, what then are you burning? You're burning nowhere near, what is almost $2,000 on 50 bins if you're 39 a bin. And obviously, Steven, if we can, George asked a good question as well. How can I schedule a private call? Anybody who wants to do that, Steven, George, anybody, we'll follow up later and have a separate direct phone call. We can dive a lot more into the numbers and share a lot about, hey, what is that break even? How do you schedule it? And how should it produce via a blank worksheet? So Stephen, great question. George, hopefully I answered yours there as well with that bit of follow-up. And then Drew, your question about how does this model work in an area with winter for 3 to 4 months? To all of our Canadians on the call and all of us that are in colder weather markets, this is an important question. As a reminder, we started this business in a market that has a 3 to 4 month winter in Salt Lake City. That was a great opportunity for us to learn that seasonal business. And Drew, Chris talked a little bit earlier about, hey, what is the breakdown between monthly and quarterly subscribers? The honest answer is, in a market that has a season to it, that is more of like a winter type of market, you will find yourself, and we will coach you into more of a quarterly base. I find some of my Salt Lake City franchisees, my franchise owners, have 80% of their subscribers are quarterly, which is not a bad thing. Yes, it can be a lower AUV on that consumer, but it's a higher per clean amount, 45 versus 30. And what we do there, Drew, is essentially when wintertime comes around, everyone is either on a quarterly plan and they're moved from, we stopped cleaning November 15th. We're going to clean again February 1st. It's very easy inside the software to bulk, move, and communicate, and essentially shut the business down if you want to. Now, and a lot of times what we're doing, because the equipment can be so easily stored inside of a garage where it doesn't have to be officially and fully winterized, you can keep that thing open. We have a lot of our franchisees who, if the weather doesn't drop below 27 degrees on an average basis, they're out cleaning. Things aren't freezing. We have mechanisms to help with that. But the bottom line is, in a seasonal market that has maybe 8 or 9 months that are true great seasonal months, you'll end up with more of a quarterly mix. And for some of that, shut down the official cleaning side of the business. Now, Drew, what we do in those markets is we are constantly pitching then for that spring work during those down months. So we're using those months to pitch for surface cleaning and bin cleaning, and as spring is coming, so that we launch again with a great model there. And good question, Drew. It's one we get quite often, and when we talk a lot about from an economics perspective. And when we get to Stephen's question, what is the disposal of wastewater issues? Question we get all the time, and one that obviously can be market dependent. We tell everybody, you need to look at your local market, your local water dumping rules, right? What is it in your market that you have to do with your water? Now, here's the bottom line. It's just dirty water. As a reminder, we don't use any chemicals to clean these bins. Steve's equipment pumps these things out at 3,500 PSI, 200 degrees via 360-degree rotating nozzle. Go have some fun, watch our videos on YouTube, and you'll see us absolutely decimate, full apples and lettuce heads and dog poop-filled garbage cans with just hot water and pressure. Now, that hot water and pressure obviously catches through the drain, through the grate, into the dirty water bin, and it becomes what is usually classified as gray water. Now, in most cities, most areas, gray water truly can be dumped in a sewer drain. You could be sitting there dumping that water in the street, and there's nothing the city can do about it. It's headed to the city to be treated. They're fine with it. It doesn't bother their regulations. Obviously, as a franchisor, we don't allow that. You won't be dumping this on the side of the road. Not a good look for your business. Bad presentation for the brand, as well as for everybody who's looking on at you doing that. But what we see more often than not, Stephen, is that we either dump in a private drain at our storage facility, where they usually have those, at a gas station we partner with that has those, at a self-serve car wash that allows us to dump there, at an RV park that has a dumping station, on private land that filters through the groundwater, or sometimes we just go to the treatment facility and dump there. There are a lot of ways to handle the disposal. I have owners, Stephen, that own 100 acres of land. They park the trailer on it. They've got a mile-long driveway. They open up the drain as they go down their driveway, and it filters onto their, through the gravel driveway into the groundwater. Nothing wrong with that. There are no chemicals in here that we're going to hurt with dumping anywhere we dump it. Now, there's some of that comes into practice on your end. We don't clean bins that you can visibly see paint in them. We don't clean bins that we can tell there's things in there that should not have been disposed of, that if the garbage company saw that, they wouldn't take it. We pass on those bins. We communicate with the consumer. And mostly, Stephen, you don't want that in your dirty water tank. You don't want that in your equipment. So we pass on it regardless and don't worry about it. But it's a great question. I always say, check your local laws, make sure you're reading into it. But we've never come across a situation where we have to pay for disposal, or the city even gives us a hard time for what we're doing there. But there are easy ways to look that up. I always recommend you use your favorite ChatGPT friend to help you out there. And Ed, if you're still here, thank you for joining. Love that you're able to be here with us, and appreciate the support, and look forward to our next opportunities to talk about all the sales and things that come with it besides just bin cleaning. Great question, Stephen. Bins that have garbage in them. So your equipment comes with a garbage can on it. So what you do is you'll have a grabber, you'll have a garbage can, and you'll get the garbage out of there. Now, that's if there's minimal garbage, Stephen. Like, let's say the garbage can didn't dump out some paper at the bottom. There's a dog poop bag stuck, things that just didn't come out. You'll get those out. You'll take it. You'll clean it. We have the mechanism for that. If you show up at a house and that house has not been picked up yet for trash bin cleaning, there's a lot of ways you can go about that. Our system communicates with our owners to make sure a couple things, that when their bins are out to be cleaned, they're empty. They schedule us for a time after pickup. Typically, Stephen, we're next day. We tell people next day cleans are the most effective and typically how we like to have things go. But if you show up, you have the right to charge a cancellation fee, $15 if you're there and they can't be cleaned. Typically, we're not doing that because we're good. We're a Yes brand. We're helping out our clients. We're having great customer service. But essentially, Stephen, if that is the case, all you do is you jump on your app or you call your customer support team. They move that clean to the following week, Tuesday at the same time. You clean it then. Make sure you communicate with the client to make sure those bins are empty next time. But there's minimal garbage in there. Let's put it this way, Stephen. A lot of us we dump our grass clippings in our waste bins, right? So there's always going to be grass clippings in those waste bins. The way that our equipment works, it clears all that out. It makes sure that the grass clippings of the waste do not enter the dirty water area because they catch on the filter. And then you clean that filter out at the end of the day and you're good to go. Great questions, everybody.
James, if you don't mind, I want to circle back to one thing, and then I'm going to just a random thought, and then you can sign us off. And as Ed types that in there, women franchisees, we've got 4 households that are married couples. We've got twin sisters. So right now, I don't know the exact tally, but I'd say it's 6 or 7 in total that are either part of a partnership, family, or own it outright. So, let's call that somewhere around 18 to 20% of our system right now, Ed. And I'm glad you touched on that, because in terms of diverse makeups beyond just the gender, not only are we in 14 states, I've got males, I've got females, I've got father-sons, I've got serial entrepreneurs, I've got people that own other franchises. We call them mumbos, multi-unit, multi-brand operators. So their experience, I've got first-time owners, first-time franchisees. I've got people that just wanted to get the heck out of the rat race of the corporate world and do something for themselves. All of it works. The physical side of it, anybody from a 100-pound female to a wimpy old man like me, we can lift it up, right? So the equipment is made for ease of use. The business model is simple. If you really drive a through line of what we're looking for, it's just that, you call it grit if you're down south, you call it chutzpah if you're northeast, whatever it is. It's that business savvy that understands this is a marketing business. Get out there, get it, understand the opportunity. That's kind of what we're looking for. What the physical, gender, geographical makeup is, bring them all on. There's a lot of garbage cans out there to clean, and we'll have fun with it. I don't know if it was Stephen or Drew we hit capacity. I wanted to bring that back real quick, just on the break even. If we're looking at maybe 300 subscribers, 350 subscribers, let's say that would be your model's break even. That's not a guarantee. That will be a variable. I say that intentionally to cover my own backside, so I'm not making any pledges here. But let's say it was 300. And let's say of that 300 subscribers, half were monthly, half were quarterly. Simple math there, you're doing about 200 jobs a month. That would equate to somewhere around 18 to 20% of your capacity based on a 5-day work week, 4 weeks a month, not 4.3. But if I'm looking at it as, hey, my monthly capacity could be right around 1,000. It could be more than that if you're doing next day and you pick up a Saturday or whatever. But simple math, my break even in that example, which is not a promise or a guarantee, could be somewhere 18 to 20% of capacity. So it's all a formula of who's on monthly, who's on quarterly. And then, of course, the nitty gritty, we're going to route that by day. So I just wanted to hit that break even. I know we're 2 minutes over time. I just want to make one final before James signs off. We invest in our partners. You're going to invest in us, in any franchise, right? You have to understand the opportunity, the metrics, the branding, the economics. You're going to invest in us. Of course, we're biased, but I just want to hit on what this team did just today. We're recording this on March 18th. We had a system-wide marketing call with 21 franchisees. That's unit level revenue growth. We had a Q&A session with 5 people that are getting ready to enroll in the next month or so. That's brand growth. We're going to continue to put pins on that map. We had a partner meeting to talk about just high-level strategy. We scheduled our April training with, as James mentioned, 6 groups. That's partner coaching and support. I've got my team member in Omaha launching a market today. They signed Chick-fil-A. They did 30 or 40 jobs just today. We're launching a new market today. So we're boots on the ground in Omaha doing that. We unveiled a new AI support evolution that we're excited to kind of enhance it possibly early April. We're increasing unit level efficiency, pushing that down towards our franchisees. We probably had 10 to 15 coaching calls individually with franchisees and or vendors. That's the day to day. And I purchased uniforms for my 7-year-old's baseball team. We had some fun. That's one day. That's what we're up to. So I just wanted to brag about that because I feel very privileged to be a part of the team, but I just wanted to share with everyone here, if you're investing in a franchise, us or anywhere, you're investing in the team. Very proud of our team. We're very robust and we're at it every day.
Chris, well said. Thank you very much. Guys, gals, everyone across the country, appreciate you. Across these countries, appreciate you being here. I'm going to end the stream here in a moment. Say thank you again. We'll make sure this recording goes out for those that were able to join us, and as well as those that were not. We'll send up follow-up emails. We'll reach out to all of you directly. But thank you again. Looking forward to talking to you soon, and hopefully we're all blasting bins together in no time. Chris, thanks for being here with me, man. I appreciate it.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, James. Everybody.
Yep.